And that's where my work came in. You see, as a public health sociologist, it was my job to understand the inner worlds of these soldiers who chose to complete suicide, as well as how the behavioral and medical and health and social structures on those Army bases failed them and created the conditions that resulted in a life ending far too short. What it revealed was a great deal of stigma, but also numbness. Numbness because the words our leaders were using masked the destruction of innocence.
Yes.
Terms like collateral damage to describe, right, the killing of innocent civilians, or boots on the ground to describe yet another deployment of boys and girls, and not just their boots being put in harm's way. Sometimes the words our leaders use are bullshit. April 2015. I began working in Baltimore, and a few weeks later, I, like many across the nation, experienced grieving and shock and sadness after the arrest and death of Freddie Gray. When Baltimoreans took to the streets with healing circles and drum circles and activism, I was inspired. In fact, I fell in love with Baltimore. One of my first assignments was to conduct a needs assessment, basically understand where needs were concentrated, but also assets were concentrated. And it basically revealed what we already know, this major inequality. And a few months later, I learned about the term the L and the butterfly, which most of you know, right? Structural advantages in predominantly white neighborhoods and structural historical disadvantages in predominantly Black neighborhoods. And I started to think, couldn't I apply that to Brooklyn and to the Bronx and to Oakland and to everywhere else? Because the terms that I was hearing numbed us to the violence happening against our communities.
Yes.
Terms like officer-involved shooting to describe yet another Black woman or man being killed by police. Or hotspot policing, which why racially profile a person when you can racially profile an entire neighborhood. But it didn't just stop at the community level. It went up when I started to think about how these words were being weaponized to destroy innocence. Some of us remember when nuclear programs turned into weapons of mass destruction to justify a war on terror, a failed war on terror. Or even at the global level, when we think about terms like global warming, which became climate change to deny the very real and harmful effects that we're having on our planet Earth. Language cloaks failure, and it numbs us to action. So what's the lesson? I love words, but words strung together are just bullshit. That is why this stage and these women and this event is so powerful, because it is only through the redemptive power of storytelling that we dig deeper towards our emotional truths and to the power of connection with one another. We must tell our stories. We must admit how raw and wounded we are. We have to admit that we're broken, because that's how the light gets in.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can catch me now on WEAA nightly, 7 to 10 p.m. I do seminars for married couples, and you'd be amazed at how people love each other and they don't like each other. They won't say it in the room, but everything about their demeanor says, I don't like him. I don't like her. I'm obligated to stay. It's more important to like than the love. Because sometimes when the love slips, that light has to slide in there real quick to keep things going. You know what I'm talking about, right? The next thing I want my girls to understand is that spirit matters. When it comes to women, we are the life in our relationships. The way we come home, our demeanor, how we operate in our homes is really what fuels relationships. So if mom is in a bad space, that house is in a bad space. So as women, young women dating, women who eventually will find partners, it is important that they work on their spirit. And the final thing I want them to understand about relationships, my parents have been married a gazillion years. And the gift that they really gave me was seeing their relationship go up, go down, go up, go down. Silly fights over hot dogs, critical fights over money, somebody sleeping on the couch, somebody getting back in the bedroom, all that craziness. It was a love journey. And what a lot of people don't have is that example. So as soon as I link up with someone, as soon as we're in a relationship, if we're partnered with someone, as soon as he doesn't close the cabinet the way I want him to, as soon as she comes home and she's not quite dressed and as pretty as I think she should be, it's time to throw the towel in. Love has highs and it has lows, and I need them to understand that. Those are 5 important lessons that I want to pass on to my girls. And they're lessons that I think we can all grow from as we all look at love. Thank you.
Cannot rest. We can't rest until the killing of black boys, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white boys, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Shortcuts, sure.
So Shortcuts Shortcuts comes from our national show, which is called Phase and Fellowship. And Phase and Fellowship is a story where barbers come together and they share a variety of different stories. So it's a byproduct of that. The Shortcut show is an international storytelling series. This is the first one that we're doing in Baltimore. We're focusing on women, and the theme is called I'm Every Woman. In honor, of course, we're honoring the great Aretha Franklin. And so it's an opportunity for black women to come together to share their stories in a safe space, in a safe environment, with no holds barred. And you're hearing everything take place right here, right now.
Is this a kind of like a healing session for women?
So it's definitely a healing session. It's a healing session right there. The healing really came from the rehearsals. The healing sessions came from the time on the phone talking about this, preparing the stories. And then it's the healing that you're seeing is taking place. You could hear from the crowd. You can hear one of the speakers right now, Marsha Jew, sharing her story. So there's a lot of healing that's actually taking place. And this is a great time for healing, in particular for black women with the Me Too movement and these moms who are raising single African-American males and girls. So this is an opportunity for healing to take place.
So this is going over throughout the country? Or?
Yeah, so Baltimore is the first stop. What we're doing is we're really trying to replicate the storytelling series. People of African descent have always been great storytellers. And so when you look at shows like The Moth and when you look at Snap Judgment, some of the national storytelling shows, most of them don't honor people of color. Even when you look at TED Talks, I'm a TED speaker, but a lot of times you don't get a chance to see people of color. So we decided to create, Darius Wilmore and myself, to create this opportunity for these, not only just women, but the people of color all over the country.